Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Karen and today I'm going to be talking to you about my PCOS story, how I found out I have PCOS, and what I'm currently doing to go ahead and try and alleviate the symptoms. So if you guys did not catch last week's video, I did talk about what PCOS is. It stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And if you guys did want to go ahead and watch that video, I'm going to go ahead and put the link down in the description. Also, it'll be up above in the iCards right here. Just a little disclaimer, if you don't like to talk about periods or vaginas, then just exit this video. So if you guys want to hear about my PCOS story, then just keep watching. So if you remember in my last video, someone with PCOS is born with PCOS. It's not something that just happens overnight. You have it from birth. And what can be brought on with PCOS is having an ovulatory cycle. So having missed periods, late periods, periods that are shorter than 21 days or longer than 35. Hopefully someone with PCOS gets their menstrual cycle very early in age or really late, so 16, 17, 18 and up. And just to give you guys a little bit of background, my menstrual history has actually been quite pristine. So I got my first cycle when I was 8 years old, and for me, yes, that was very terrifying to have, blood come out of your vagina. From 8 all the way until I turned 19, I had absolutely regular cycles. Every single month it came. It was never early, it was never late, like it was always on time, and I never had to worry about it. When I was a lot younger, I would have really painful cramps, like I would have to go into our little health room at elementary, and I would just be there all day because my cramps would be so bad that I couldn't even focus, like I couldn't walk, I couldn't move. Until I turned 19, I had gone through a series of birth control, so I was on the Depo-Provera shot, on the pill. After that, I was put onto the Nexplanon. I can definitely make a video more in depth on these birth controls, but for now, I'm just gonna kind of go over it. So with the Nexplanon, it's an implant that you get put into your arm and it lasts 3 years. I had it taken out after the first year of having it put in just because it wasn't really my thing and it was making my hormones all over the place. About 9 months into having my Nexplanon in, I lost my period, and that typically happens when you're on something like Nexplanon. Your period just starts to shorten and then it just disappears for the remaining time that you're on it. So when I got it removed, my doctor told me that it would take up to 1 year to go ahead and have my cycle go back to normal, or for me to even get my period at all. The next month came around and I actually got my period, and every month after that for the next 3 months, everything was normal. It was on time, nothing was out of the ordinary. And then after 3 months of having a regular cycle, I had a 35-day cycle, 37-day cycle, 42-day cycle, and then after that, it went back to a 30-day cycle. And after that one, my period just decided not to show up. After that 30-day cycle I had, I was like, okay, my hormones and everything must be aligned again. I actually started to eat a lot healthier. I was doing the keto diet and felt like it was working really well for me. Granted that I was losing weight, and my period was 30 days. So because my period was nowhere to be found, like I'm telling you, I had missed 2 months of a cycle, I was starting to get worried, and I started to Google, how can someone miss their period? Why might someone miss their period? What are possible things that could be going on as to why I might miss my period? I was also trying to figure out things I need to do to bring back my period, ways to bring on your cycle, and I found that ginger tea was supposed to help, and having turmeric, and just a bunch of things to try and do. And none of them worked for me. So I would look on YouTube, I would look on Google. PCOS was one consistent thing that popped up. Of course, the question of pregnancy was there, but because of, having the irregular cycles was a consistent thing prior. I had taken pregnancy tests. I wasn't pregnant. So cycle day 74 comes around and I figure, you know, it's time for me to go ahead and schedule an appointment with my primary care manager. So when I went to go see my PCM, he asked me what was going on and I told him that I was having, you know, irregular cycles and it's been going on for quite some time. I told him my previous menstrual history and that it was totally fine, and I told him that, you know, I had gotten taken off the Nexplanon earlier that year. I had told him everything. He also had asked me about my diet and exercise, and I told him that I had gone on multiple diets. I had tried to eat healthier and I've tried to exercise, and it was just really difficult for me to lose the weight. And if I would lose the weight, it would be a pound or two every other week, and I would just gain back the weight really easy, and I was just having a difficult time. My entire life, I've always had really bad acne, and so I told him about that. And by the hyperpigmentation on my neck that he could notice and how I carried more weight in my stomach, he said, you know, I think you might have PCOS. I had done research on PCOS prior, and I had a feeling that that might be what was the cause of my anovulatory cycles. He had explained a little bit to me what PCOS is, and the moment he started talking about it, I was like, okay, I think that might be what it is. He started to go on to talk about the 3 Rotterdam criteria, which is having at least 2 of the 3 features of PCOS. So he wanted to check my symptoms, he wanted to check my blood work for high testosterone and to check my A1C levels, LH, and my thyroid levels. The third one being getting an ultrasound of my ovaries to check if I have any cysts. Also, with him knowing that my husband and I are trying to conceive, he was thinking of ways that, you know, I could probably bring on my period back naturally and things to help us conceive as well. That same day, we went ahead and scheduled a follow-up appointment, and he also ordered for me to go ahead and get some blood work done. I went ahead and went to the lab and got my blood drawn, and from there I just waited for the results. The results came back and I had a high A1C level. The normal range is supposed to be like 4.5 to 6.2, and I was at a 5.7. He wanted to go ahead and check my testosterone. So I believe the highest is supposed to be like 45, and I had scored at a 47. He wanted to go ahead and double check my testosterone because I had gotten the blood work done in the afternoon and he needed to check in the morning. I got a second testosterone test done, and the second time it came back high at 49. So like I said, I also got my thyroid checked, I got my progesterone. Basically my levels came back and they weren't what they were supposed to be. And so I had called my doctor to ask him like, hey, could you explain this to me? I want to fully understand everything that's going on. And he did tell me, you know, by the looks at your A1C, your testosterone, and having bad acne and carrying more weight in your stomach and just everything else you had explained to me that was going on, it's safe to say that you have PCOS. But I do want to go ahead and schedule the ultrasound and confirm to see if you have any cysts on your ovaries. Someone with PCOS can have all the symptoms or have some symptoms and have no cysts on their ovaries. It is possible, so he wanted to go ahead and schedule that appointment for my ultrasound just to see if I do. That last step, getting the ultrasound done, it was a pretty long process. I was in there for about 45 minutes. They did an ultrasound that went over my stomach, and then they also did one with a probe that goes up my vagina, and they basically checked to see how many cysts I have on my ovaries, if I do have any. On my left side, I had a count of 6 cysts on my ovaries, and on my right side I had a count of 23. And to find that out, my doctor explained it to me as the fact that you have more than the criteria of having at least 10 cysts on your ovaries qualifies you to officially having PCOS. So my big thing was, you know what, okay, I'm glad that we have all of the answers. How do I go ahead and treat it? So because he knew that my husband and I were trying to conceive, he went ahead and prescribed me 500 milligrams 2 times a day of metformin. Metformin is a medication for diabetics. Now, I'm not diabetic, haven't been diagnosed pre-diabetic yet, and I don't want to get there. Don't get me wrong, I don't. So he's given me the metformin to go ahead and control my blood sugar levels. Metformin has the effects on helping regulate your hormones in a way that'll help your cysts or your eggs grow. There have been many success stories of women who have gotten pregnant with metformin, although it is not primarily used for fertility. So being on the metformin, he told me that, you know, we'll go ahead and have you try it out for 3 months, and it will help you lose weight because it does suppress your appetite. And it honestly really did suppress my appetite. The thing with PCOS is there's something in your brain that tells you when you're full and when to stop eating. And for women with PCOS, sometimes it doesn't happen. Your brain doesn't send the signals to let you know to stop eating or that you're not hungry anymore, that you're full. And so taking metformin helps with those effects and suppresses your appetite, therefore you lose weight. And something with trying to conceive, losing weight and being under a 30% body fat percentage is essential. Like I've said in my last video, it's almost been 1 year since my husband and I have been trying to conceive. And it's been a really tough journey because when you've wanted to be a mom or wanted to be pregnant, like that was something that you've really wanted to do when you were a kid, to grow up and realize that you have something like PCOS to make it more difficult, it's just really heartbreaking. There are some women who are trying to conceive that have PCOS that don't even find out they have PCOS until it's too late. PCOS is not something you should take lightly, because if you do plan on having kids in the future, it's something you're gonna wanna find out early on. I know a lot of women who have PCOS who found out when they're 35, because that's when they figure, you know, this is when I want to have kids. And then they find out they have something like PCOS, and it takes them how many years to get pregnant, and then they end up not getting pregnant because their eggs have dried, like they just don't have a chance. There's also women who find out when they're super young, like when they're 20, it takes them 10 years to get pregnant, 10 years goes by and they're still not pregnant. I'm not saying that you can't get pregnant if you have PCOS, because it definitely is possible and there are a lot of success stories. But if you do know you have PCOS, or you think you might have PCOS, or you don't even think you have PCOS, I think you should still check. Go ahead and talk to your doctor, get blood work done, and try to get in front of it, because it's just very frustrating to, you know, go months on end trying to conceive, or just go months on end and your hormones are all over the place and you're not aware of what's going on. Be in charge of your body. Take care of yourself. Ask questions. That's so important. Communicate with your body, communicate with your doctors. If you're someone who thinks you have PCOS or that you do have PCOS, leave a comment down below and I want to hear what your symptoms are, how you found out you had PCOS, how long have you known that you have PCOS, are you trying to conceive? If you were able to conceive with PCOS, how long did it take you? Did you conceive naturally? Did you conceive with the help of a fertility specialist? And again, if you guys do have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below. If you guys did like this video, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.